So this is a Ford E450 school bus that has been retitled and insured as an RV in the state of Vermont. You can barely see the solar panels up there. We got it in 2020 as a school bus, and we did pretty much all the work on it to turn it into an RV, starting with a whole bunch of painting, brand new tires. It's a diesel with 67,000 miles about, and a whole bunch of brand new gadgets and gizmos. If you're interested in reading all the full specs, there is a Google document linked below this video that has all the information about this bus. I'm not going to get into all that nitty-gritty information today on this video. I just wanted to point out a few things, like the tinted windows here, which are a nice feature, and a few other things that potential buyers might be interested in seeing. I also wanted to just explain what it was like living in the bus, just so buyers can get a feel for what that might be like for them if they were to purchase it. So underneath here, I went ahead and sanded and removed a bunch of rust and then repainted everything. So if you are purchasing schoolies, you know that's definitely a number one concern that people have. The rust situation is for sure taken care of. We purchased the bus in 2020 with the intention of building it out and keeping it for ourselves. When we first moved into it, we literally just had the inside of it completely ripped out. Nothing was built out. It had a subfloor and no insulation, no walls, no ceiling, and we threw an air mattress down. And we've just been slowly building out the bus over time based on what we've decided we needed. And unfortunately, due to a few family emergencies, we are now selling this house and doing some renovations for some family members. So instead of having this bus just sit around while we are doing this and we are stationary, we've decided to go ahead and sell this bus because it definitely deserves to be on the road. As some of you know, this is our second bus build. The first one we did was more of a tiny home style. This one is definitely more of an RV. We built it to be a lot more lightweight than the other, and I wanted it to be easily modified. So I told you I was living in it and kind of building it slowly. So there were times when I decided I want to completely renovate the kitchen, and I tore it out and put something else in. So everything that I put in here, I wanted it to be simple to change, super lightweight, and honestly just simple in general all around. Along with that, I wanted this bus to be set up to be more of an off-grid vehicle for stealth camping and boondock camping, more so than staying in a campground. So a lot of the stuff that I put on here or built was for that purpose, like the composting toilet or the solar or this water filter, for example. This isn't exactly set up perfectly for campgrounds, although you definitely could stay in a campground. I wanted to be able to stay in free camping spots. I wanted to stealth camp in parking lots or on the side of the road, and basically just live completely off-grid in the vehicle. As far as renovations go, we didn't do much to the front of the bus except add some lighting, hooks, a few stickers and whatever here and there. Everything's pretty much the same. Just have a carpet thrown down and some curtains up. The bus does have a heating system that works when the bus is running, as well as an air conditioning system. The unit runs back there. It has a brand new compressor. The ceiling is cedar wood planking, and it does have fiberglass insulation behind it. The walls here are the original metal bus sheet metal walls. I removed the screws, pulled the panels back, and put 2-inch to 1-inch, depending on the area, board insulation, foam board insulation in the walls. And then the flooring also has foam board insulation. The front area here, I never built anything because I would use it to either store a fan or my portable propane heater, which will be sold with the bus. I did borrow a portable AC unit for a summer and had it sitting here as well, but that's obviously not going to be sold with the bus, but it is an option. I just like to have that open for whatever the need of the season is. Another thing I did to help insulate the bus was I made a bunch of custom Reflectix pieces to go on every single window. They're cut to size. So this is the one for the front of the bus. And I just slide it over the mirror, shove it up here. I have Velcro in certain places. So there's Velcro here, and then there's Velcro up here. All the windows have something like that I did so that it will hold the Reflectix in place. So that'll help not only with insulation but privacy. And then I have these curtains. All the windows have curtains, again, for privacy, and I really do think it helps with insulating. So this one I will turn sideways, and then it has a matching one over here for the door, and it goes up, and just there's a little hook on this side of the door and a hook over here. And I'll just hang this here at night. I also have a piece of Reflectix for the door. So this is what we have. So when you're living inside any vehicle or a tiny home or anything small in general, storage is a major concern. So obviously there's the dresser here. This is actually a closet. So just has a closet bar. You can see I keep the Reflectix in here full time because there's no reason to see out that window. There's this shelf that goes around the whole bus, and all of these baskets and whatever sitting here are actually basically in place because of gravity. So this lip tilts them, you know, backwards when you put weight into it. And if you were to pull on it, you can see it just, because of the curve of the roof, they don't come out. So there's a whole bunch of storage on the shelves and clothing storage. And then I lifted the bed. The bed is actually lifted to fit 9 Rubbermaid bins. It's either 9 or 12, depending on the size bin that you buy, but it's the perfect height to fit Rubbermaid bins. So I mean, 9 to 12 bins of gear is a lot of fun to be had when camping and exploring. This is actually a shoe rack. It's just stored there because we've been doing some test driving for people who wanted to potentially buy the bus. So everything is, you know, strapped down right now. But this shoe rack can sit right here when you're parked, and then, you know, put your shoes in it. It's just a little inconvenient for when you're driving, so we throw it down there. Sometimes we throw it in the closet when we're moving. So this toilet was actually really fun for me to design. In our last bus, we bought a Nature's Head. See back here, this is the exhaust fan. It's like a pipe, and there's a fan in here. On the outside of the bus, there's like some little flaps and like an exhaust shield. And the fan pulls air out of here and pushes it out that way so that you never smell what is going on inside of your compost toilet. So I had a Nature's Head, like I said, in my last vehicle, and I designed this one to be very similar. So what we actually have going on here is a jug that will collect your number 1 and a bucket that will collect your number 2s. So I would normally I gave you guys a new bucket. I would normally put like sawdust or some type of compostable material in here. But if you're on the road and you're in a pinch, you can just put a trash bag in it. Swoop in the bag. If you've ever seen a Nature's Head toilet, this is 1,000,000,000% so much more beautiful. Those things literally look like ugly airplane toilets or something weird. Anyways, so this is, if you were curious, how we separate number 1s and number 2s, and your anatomy just does the rest of the job there. So the reason that I mentioned the Nature's Head toilet so much is because it's pretty common in schoolie builds and van life community for people to use the Nature's Head toilet. I used it every single day for 3 years straight, and I'm telling you, all of those little nooks and crannies and in all that where everything goes, it is a pain to clean, and those things cost like almost $1,000, and they're ugly. They're really ugly. So in my opinion, I just liked this setup better. You can buy a new 5-gallon bucket every year and, you know, or whatever you want to do. And it's just easier to clean, easier to maintain, easier and cheaper to buy parts for, and I just thought it looked a lot cuter. So this is the bed. It is a queen size bed. Over here I have a television. So everything's, like I said, it's all bungeed and strapped down for travel right now. So I just unhook a few bungees from the back of the television here, and then it's on a swivel. So you can pull it out. You can have it face the kitchen when you're cooking or whatever, and you can have it face the toilet if you really want, or it can face the bed, and then it just tucks back for traveling. Up here, that is a sound bar. So if you open this door, you can like blare music outside, and like, yeah, it's like super loud. So it's nice for off-grid living. And this little box here, we used to keep our Xbox in it, but we're keeping our Xbox. So if you want to put your Xbox or like some kind of DVD player or something in there, you can do that. Yeah, so it's just the TV and the sound bar. We used a hotspot for our internet to connect everything, and most of the time we didn't really like, I'm not really much of a TV watcher, I guess. So we just used the Xbox for video games and like occasionally DVDs that I got used from Goodwill and collect. You may have noticed these super cheesy, super fun lights. I've got some remotes just velcroed here next to the bed. There's two separate remotes. This one is for the strip light. This one is for these puck lights. Unfortunately, they're battery, these ones, and they need new batteries. So they're not turning on right now, but I have these lights here. These run off the solar. Some little work lights, dimmable, whatever, LEDs. There's one over the dresser. There's one here that's on right now over the kitchen. So the lighting, these and those, that runs off the solar all the time. The toilet runs off the solar all the time because we don't want to smell that ever. The refrigerator runs off the solar all the time for obvious reasons. The only thing that does not work with the solar is this toaster oven. So you have to actually be plugged in somewhere with an extension cord because the solar just can't handle the amount of energy that draws. Your other option, though, if you want to stay off grid, which we did, is to have a generator, but we are not selling our generator with the bus. So to run the oven, you would need to set up a generator, but everything else, electric-wise, runs off the solar, and we've just got power strips set up everywhere. Everything is labeled, so this is telling you that this is going out to the solar. This tells you this plugs in the bathroom fan, the lights, and the light over the dresser, whatever. So every plug is labeled, and most of it does run through the solar. I was getting hot, so I opened up all the doors, but it really just is such a freaking vibe when you open the doors in these school buses. I really wanted one that had the two back doors to put the bed, because it's just like, you know. And while I'm just like gushing over schoolies here, let me just, you know, bring this vibe to you. It's just so, it's just the whole thing, you know? I don't know. I just love the outside. I guess if you're gonna live in a bus, you probably feel that way. And of course, now we've got the kitchen. So I've got a refrigerator, freezer here. Technically it could be all refrigerator or all refrigerator or all freezer, but I have it set up to be freezer in the back and refrigerator in the front. This here is a water filtration system. It has ceramic and carbon filters. They're gravity fed. So again, I wanted it to be really off-grid compatible. So you can put water in this that isn't necessarily safe to drink, and then it'll filter it, and then you have safe filtered drinking water. I have a sink here. Got a important fire extinguisher, the toaster oven, which actually has this, like, you can pull this out. I've actually pulled this out and like cooked outside with it. Just, I don't know, but it has like a burner on the top too, like you can grill things on it. I don't know. Anyways, toaster oven, and here we have a 2-burner stovetop. It runs off of propane, not electricity. I'll show you where all that hooks up outside in a minute. And then the sink, got a cutting board, drying rack, another kind of drying rack down in here. You can remove it all. And then this just, you press on and water comes out, you press off and it stops. Pretty simple. And it's just battery operated. This thing actually, you charge the whole thing right here. It's just like a little mini USB, and that's how it works. So again, I just went with extremely simple off-grid capabilities. Let's see, I've got some hooks up here. I would hang all my cups, and then I kept my plates and silverware here. Underneath the cooking area, I kept my pots and pans, and then, you know, up here with some utensils for cooking. Down here I kept canned food, and then I had like this little tiny nook here. And you can see the shut-off valve for the gas there. The gas goes through the floor. But I would just put big bottles of like vinegar and oil and stuff there. And then underneath here, I've got more food storage. And then anything that I was worried about, like mice or bugs getting into, because, you know, you're living in a vehicle. I kept like my flour and my dry goods in here. And then I kept all of my spices and stuff in here. And this I would just set here sometimes. Kind of like keep the spices I used most right there. And then all the other spices there. Okay, so the water system here is basically like the most basic water setup that I have ever witnessed in a vehicle personally. So what I have is this little flexible piping that comes out of the sink drain, and it goes into this jug here. So you pull this jug out, and this is your dirty water. This is why this jug looks disgusting. And then behind that is your clean water. So if you were in town and you were heading out of town, you can fill up a few jugs of water, and then you just drop this little flexible hose down into your jug, slide it back here. This is a 5-gallon jug, and this is a 5-gallon jug. So it will pull 5 gallons up and out and put 5 gallons in here. As long as you do not dump extra water down your sink, you will never ever overflow your gray water tank. But the reason I decided to go with something this simple and small was, again, that whole off-grid boondocking thing. If you have huge water tanks under your vehicle and you don't have a campground to empty them in, say you have 100 gallons of water, your tanks are full, and you're in the middle of nowhere, or you run out of water or whatever, you could theoretically maybe fill up at a creek or like a hose or a spigot. But where are you going to safely dump 100 gallons of this gray water without having a campground? So I do this honestly just to kind of minimize my impact on the area that I'm in, and just so that it's just a simpler setup. I mean, I could literally fill this with water out of a creek, wash my dishes with some biodegradable soap, and then like dump this not in the creek. Don't dump it back in the creek. You walk, you know, your whatever, and you do all that and whatever. But yeah, you can, it's way safer and easier to come up with a plan for dumping 5 gallons of gray water than 100 gallons of gray water. So might not work for you if you decide you want to install a tank. I will say there is a ton of room under the bed if you're trying to keep it inside so that they don't freeze. Some people do that. There is also room underneath the vehicle because I haven't really installed much down there. So that is something that I thought about in the future, but this was really just, it just worked for us. So back outside the bus here, right outside the door underneath, you can see there's the propane hookup. So you just pull that yellow tubing down. You set a tank of propane just the size that would be like a grill tank. So you're hooking this bus up the same way you would hook a grill up. You just put the tank on the ground, hook it up from underneath there, and that's for your stove. If you wanted to run your propane heater, I have a hole right here that I would run a second line through here, and then I would, like I said, I would set my heater here and then pull it out kind of into the middle of the room when I was using it, and then during the day push it back here. So the only thing you would need to do is have a second tank or set up a splitter on your single tank and then run 2 lines from your propane tank. But again, it is literally as simple as hooking up a grill that you would like cook or barbecue on. And this right here, that is the power right here. This is your power in, shore power when you are not using your solar. This is for that toaster oven, and it also goes out here, so you can run your extension cord, any regular extension cord, in through this hole. We just have it coming from the house right now. So I have a few things I want to point out back here. I already showed you the 2 solar panels up there. The rest of the solar setup is back here. So this is a 2000 watt inverter. I have 1 single battery. It is a lithium ion battery, so it should be a pretty high quality battery as far as I can tell. You've got the charge controller over here, and this is a Bluetooth module so that you can connect your cell phone to the solar system and monitor what's going on with your batteries and your inverter and all that and your solar panels through your cell phone. This is the Renogy Adventure solar charge controller. If you go onto the Renogy website, you can look at different packages that they have to expand on this current solar setup. And honestly, that was my plan. I just never got around to it again because I was just building as I saw things that I needed. So I did decide that I wanted more electricity, but I never got around to it. So I was gonna get another battery, and I was gonna get 2 more panels. The charge controller should be able to handle up to 6 panels, so there's definitely space on the roof for that as well. And you could have as many batteries really as you want. And I went with Renogy, honestly, again, because of simplicity. If you want to expand on this current setup, they have tons of kits. They have great customer support. So it's just like, I don't know. I didn't use it last time. I like Frankensteined the whole system together because it was like a really big system and it was really complex. But since this was a smaller system, I wanted it to be something that was just like really streamlined, all the same company, and really easy to do calculations. Honestly, you don't have to do any calculations because you can just call Renogy and they'll tell you what you can connect to your system and what wires you need and whether it needs to be parallel or in series or blah, 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 and all that nonsense. So if you decide to expand on it, I would definitely call them. Other thing back here, I had this box of stuff. I was experimenting with screens for the windows. when we moved out. So if you want to continue that experimentation, I just put that in there. There's an extra air filter for the bus, and then there's all the lights and speakers that we removed from like the bus when we took out the ceiling and everything. The original Bluebird stuff is all in here. It has the logo and everything, and then there's like just another license plate thingy that we took off the bus, so I just put it here to be with the bus for some reason. Around here on this side, you can see this is the propane heater. I never used these little, like, I don't know if they're like 5-pound tanks or something. You can just, you know, there's an adapter thing that you can screw in here, and then you can just hook up to a grill size, like the 20-pound, I think they're 20-pound propane tanks. And then over here, yeah, so it comes with one propane tank. Like I said, they're just standard trade-in size, so you can fill it up anywhere, or if you just want to trade the thing in at like a Lowe's or a Walmart or whatever, like place that has it, it's super convenient. These are all levelers. They are like yellow, kind of like Lego blocks. You make little triangles, and that way when you're parking in places that aren't necessarily on level ground, because, you know, I was, again, boondocking, not at campgrounds, not in a perfectly graveled, leveled spot. You just set those up and, you know, get the bus where it needs to be. And I think that's pretty much all I got back here. I mean, clearly I could go on and on and on about this bus for a long time. I built it for me, so I love it. I will be sad to see it go. But I guess, you know, I just, you know, I feel like schoolies definitely take the right kind of person to own them. You know, I mean, I've got to do basically, you know, engineering projects with the solar and the toilet, and I think it's fun to solve these problems and design the weird water system and whatever. Like, I actually enjoy those tasks, you know, and it's also kind of like an art project in a way. It becomes really personal, so it's different than just buying an RV, and there is more work in some cases, you know, like dumping water or whatever it is, and making sure you're parked in the sun for the solar, and possibly needing a generator on a cloudy day or whatever it is, not being able to watch TV like all night long because there's no sun and whatever, you know. But it's kind of a trade-off, I guess, is my point. There's a lot of pros to it as well. I think you get to be in a lot more remote places. You have a lot more freedom, and I mean, it's cheaper to travel really because you don't have to pay to stay in places. But anyways, I guess I just feel like whoever's going to buy this, it's going to have to be somebody who's committed to that lifestyle, you know. It is kind of a lifestyle choice. It's not just like buying an RV off the lot. It's like a labor of love. It's definitely got some kind of artistic value to it. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got.